I'll level with you, that High School DxD is not Kung Fu Panda quote from last week has been sticking with me all week, rent-free in my head.
Yeah, boy.
Thank you for that. It's
It's funny because it's like I feel like even with that is not the most absurd sentence to ever come out of my mouth.
No, it's definitely not the most absurd, but I've yet to see what kind of effect it's going to have, but I know it's going to have one.
Fair.
Anyways, welcome to Under the Bridge, everybody.
Welcome to Under the Bridge.
I'm Cody, aka the Scarlet Troll.
And I'm Greg, aka Greg.
And this is our podcast, where we talk sometimes comic news, sometimes gaming news, pretty much always movie news, and also pretty much always a movie review. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know where I was going with this. I wanted to get that out of the way, because I feel like it's important. I feel like it's important for retention to get it out of the way first.
Right.
But
I didn't clap directly into my microphone, but I hope it picked it up.
Oh, I didn't hear it, but it probably picked up.
Okay, fair.
Probably just Discord messing with us. Anyways, let's get into the news.
The news indeed.
I got some comic news this week, which is that we now know the next era of X-Men coming up in the comics.
It's the Y-Men. That was a really bad joke. I don't know why there's just silence right now.
No, I like it.
Okay, I was to say, because I will be the first to admit that was a god-awful joke.
I wasn't expecting it, though. So, you caught me by surprise.
Fair enough.
No, apparently the new branding for X-Men is called From the Ashes, and I'll level with you, this sounds really disappointing.
Oh boy.
Because apparently, for those who aren't keeping up on comics at this time, the X-Men, actually all mutants pretty much, came together and formed their own island nation of Krakoa. They had a society, they had a language, they had some super advanced technological developments that they were slowly making more available to mankind, and it was a mixed bag of a thing. There was a lot of things wrong with Krakoa, not the least of which, recruiting people like Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister onto the team, because it was basically, we need all mutants, and also they needed Sinister in order to get his genetic database, because they figured out a way to coordinate some mutant abilities to basically resurrect people from the dead.
Ooh, that's bad.
No, actually it was really exciting, because it brought back a lot of mutants who were stupidly killed off as C-list fodder during some event or another, but...
Okay, fair enough.
No, it was really cool. It basically involved growing clone bodies, aging them up to adulthood using time manipulation powers, and then using a backup of their minds encoded within Cerebro and Professor X's abilities in order to basically transplant their memories back into their body.
So basically they created the same method that the New Republic used to create the clone army.
Kind of, except of multiple people instead of just one.
Fair.
So Krakoa was a real mixed bag, because there was very much an isolationist, us versus them policy, which after years of abuse by regular humans is kind of a fair point.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of good there.
Mm-hmm.
It really felt like the X-Men finally had a leg up, you know?
Yeah.
The world may have still hated and feared them, but not the whole world. And they finally kind of carved themselves out a niche. And the idea that the whole thing is going away, which has basically been confirmed, that Krakoa doesn't exist anymore.
Wait, what?
Yeah, basically a bunch of human fascists called Orcus did a whole thing, and now they're dismantling the whole system, and it doesn't help that some of the architects of Krakoa, like Charles Xavier himself, were having doubts about it, because in Immortal X-Men, there was a bit where Charles basically broke down and went, I don't believe in this mutant essentialism stuff. I only went with it because Moira said it was necessary, this was the only future where we lived, and it turns out that was part of a lie, so now what do we do? And there was a really good point made about, nobody gets something perfect on the first attempt. That doesn't mean you just stop, it means you make it better. So,
you just evolve it over time.
Yeah, so to have Marvel then turn around and go, yeah, but no, we're gonna tear the whole thing down, is just some of the most frustrating example of status quo protectionism that I've ever seen, and I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, it's like, you keep it going. It's like, well, we're not going to follow our own message this time.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else I'd expect, but...
Do you think they could have kept it going with this?
I think so! I definitely think they could have, because, I mean...
Mm-hmm.
There's a constant problem where Marvel wants their world to be the world outside your window, which isn't realistic or practical in a world where superheroes have now existed for, 40 years?
So the Marvel wants the comic book world to be the white fence outside of my window right now.
Yeah. But that's boring, you know?
Yes it is.
We're in a world with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and the X-Men. There should be some fantastical developments by this point. We should see some progress. We should have eradicated some banal problems at this stage.
Right.
That we haven't kind of just speaks to editorial cowardice more than anything else. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's important to... You can't completely solve sociological issues, for example, because that gets rid of a lot of drama potential for stories.
Right.
But there should at least be progress. On the upside of this, some of these creative teams that they've announced are interesting. There's basically going to be 3 X-Men titles and 3 X-Men teams going all at the same time.
Okay.
And one is just called X-Men. No adjective, no descriptor. And that's by Jed MacKay, who's been doing really good things with the most recent Moon Knight run, and also interesting things with the recent Avengers run. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Art by Ryan Stegman. Apparently this one is a team of X-Men based out of Alaska, who are battling for the destiny and philosophy of the mutant species, per the Marvel website. This team is going to have Cyclops, Beast, hopefully not the secret police Beast, Magneto, Psylocke.
The secret police Beast?
Yeah, no, Beast was basically in charge of Krakoa's CIA and going increasingly awful about it. And I think they brought back a much older psychic backup of him in a clone body, and I don't know where that's going, but I think it's basically going to be Beast is no longer awful.
Okay.
So it's Cyclops, Beast, Magneto, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Temper, Magic, and Juggernaut.
Okay.
Which, okay, that's some interesting picks. I like that Magneto's there. Back from the dead yet again.
That actually just popped in my head. It's like, wait, didn't he die, not that long ago?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Fuck off!
Weren't you listening when I got to the thing about the mutants have conquered death?
Oh, okay, you know what? Fair. I don't like that I just take that as the reason, and I'm okay with it.
There were exceptions, and I think Magneto didn't have a backup going at that time, or something, but he's back anyway.
So they still cheated anyway.
Yeah, cheated anyway.
Alright.
We also have Uncanny X-Men, which is written by Gail Simone and art by David Marquez. Gail Simone is one of those writers where I hear really good things, and I've just never really gotten around to checking out any of her work, and I need to fix that.
Okay.
But this is going to be... I think they're based in Louisiana, and their focus is on protecting a world that hates and fears them, because that never gets old.
Oh, yeah.
And this team is kind of the most recognizable one of the bunch, I think, because it's Rogue, Gambit, Nightcrawler, Jubilee, and Wolverine.
Okay.
So functionally, yeah, you like X-Men 97, right?
I guess.
You like the X-Men 90s animated series? Yeah, well, we added Nightcrawler. Have fun.
Yeah, indeed.
And then we also have Exceptional X-Men, written by Eve Ewing, with art by Carmen Carnero. And this one is going to focus on Kate Pryde and Emma Frost working together to train a trio of new young mutants.
Okay.
Called Bronze, Axo, and Melee. They are, as far as I know, completely new, made for this line. So that's an interesting bit, focusing on the next set of X-Men, I guess, probably, assuming they aren't killed, because... well, that's...
People be dying.
Disgustingly on brand.
Yeah, it's just like, people be dying, promising people be dying in these series, it sounds like.
They haven't announced creative teams yet, but they've also basically stated that other titles are coming, such as X-Factor, X-Force, Storm, Phoenix, Wolverine. And this one's a pull. I had to Google this one. It's called... I don't know if you pronounce it as Nyx or NYX.
I'd say Nyx. Well, is it all capital?
It's kind of hard to tell, because... I guess it's all capital, so it's probably NYX.
Okay, yeah, as I say, if it's all capital letters, it's probably like an acronym then.
It's apparently stands for District X, New York City. It was a 7-issue series that was published between 2003 and 2005 and focused on homeless mutants who are teenagers living in New York.
So you know what's bad about that is that I thought it was going to be an acronym for something like either sillier or at least equally as mundane, like New Young X-Men. And the fact that it's like a bunch of like teenage homeless X-Men, it's like, I feel like that still tracks though.
And it looks like it was decently well reviewed at the time. Like I said, it only lasted 7 issues. Also notable, apparently it was the first time X-23 ever appeared in comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's neat. Unfortunately, it looks like they made her an underage prostitute, so that's...
Oh, why?
Thanks, Quesada!
Like...
No, actually, he wrote it. I'm not just slinging blame for no reason.
No, that's why. Why?
First
of
you
all
ruined the spider marriage, and now... Actually, no, first you did this, then you ruined the spider marriage.
Oh, fuck me, that's...
You knew I had to bring it back to Spider-Man eventually.
That's fair, No, I'm not gonna continue with that train of thought. Moving on!
So that's quite a pull. There aren't any details, so I don't know if it's, they're focusing on the same characters, or if it's a case of, it's a sort of thematic revival, where it's focusing on the same concept, but maybe with another generation of mutants. I guess we'll just have to see. All in all, I want to be excited, but just the very idea of the driving concept that mutants are once again on the back foot is just exhausting.
Yeah, especially... That's kind of why I was surprised when you said it's like, oh yeah, Krakoa's no longer a thing. It's like, what do you mean it's not a thing anymore?
Right? Whole country just gone.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing about that is that they have their home country to just basically live, and because they're done with people's bullshit. It's like, oh, well, their country's gone, so they have to deal with people's bullshit again. It's like, okay.
Really disappointing. I don't read these to get exhausted, you know. I don't necessarily read them to have fun. Sometimes I like a good challenge. Sometimes I like a thing that makes me stop and think about stuff. But I don't read it for a bitter reminder that things will always be the same and never get any better, and stop trying to rise above your station, peasants.
Yeah, no, if you want that shit, you gotta go to Dr. Doom.
Oh, man.
Once again, I did not hear you at all. It was just silence on my side.
Wow, that's unfortunate, because that got a laugh out of me. That got a pretty good laugh.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm gonna move on.
Alrighty.
Got a little bit more unfortunate X-Men news, which is that, apparently, per the Hollywood Reporter, the showrunner of X-Men 97, Bo DeMaio, has been fired just weeks before the premiere of the show.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Yeah. No details have been said.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, his representatives didn't return any calls for comment. His Instagram account was deleted, but has since come back up.
Okay.
No announcement of what's happening or who's stepping up to this now or why it happened. We did get a brief comment from head of streaming television animation at Marvel Studios, Brad Winderbaum, but all he said was, I can't talk about the details, but I can say that Bo had real respect and passion for these characters, and wrote what I think are excellent scripts that really the rest of the team were able to draw inspiration from to build this amazing show that's on screen. He was also asked if he'd categorize it as a firing. He says, I don't. We parted ways is the best way I could say.
So, still being respected, but really sus, letting go. He did something stupid, didn't he?
I don't know, because it's such bad press to do that right before the show comes out.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you wait until after? Unless he left.
I was to say, well, that's the thing that makes me think that he did something bad, because it's like, not even a thing of like, alright, creative things, so like something bad actually happened, that they're letting him go, what seems like with immediate effect, without giving any details. It's like, oh boy, this is not encouraging.
I think there was maybe a little bit of a dust-up about, what was it? I think it was about whitewashing Sunspot a little bit.
Which one's Sunspot again?
Robert DaCosta. He's Brazilian. I think typically or at least originally in the comics, he was, I don't know if Afro-Brazilian is the right word, but he was typically depicted as darker skinned.
Okay.
And gradually they have very much lightened him up in complexion.
Ah.
Over the years.
Fair.
And I think that might have been a bit of point of contention, but I didn't look too deep into it because that kind of thing exhausts me. And I only have so many hours in the day.
That's understandable.
But I have no idea what did this. It's not a good look, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I mean, heck, by the time this episode is out, I think the first 2 episodes will be on Disney+, and I'll probably have watched them.
Okay.
I really wanted to catch up with the original animated series beforehand, because I didn't fully watch it, because I was always more of a Spider-Man kid, but good luck doing that now. Not enough time. There's no time.
Right.
Ugh. Too much stuff in the works. I'm very excited, though.
Mm-hmm.
Not for content coming out of Hollywood, although also that, but for some other things I'm working on. Anyways, you'll see. You'll all see.
You'll all say.
So, that's enough depressing X-Men news.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to depressing DC news.
Oh boy, our favorites.
This is a minor one.
In
the grand scheme of things, this is minor, probably for the best. It only hurts in the short term to hear it, and probably for the next 2.5 years while I'm thinking about it, because, unfortunately, the Batman Part 2 has been delayed.
For 2.5 years?
Well, it was supposed to come out October 3rd, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And now it has been pushed back to October 2nd, 2026.
Okay, that's not great, but that's not as bad as I was expecting.
No, but that's really gonna hurt. I like that movie a lot.
Oh yeah, I did too. It was a really good movie that used its motif a little bit too much.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of being a good Batman movie, I'd arguably say that's one of the better ones we've ever gotten.
Oh, 100%.
Honestly, it's probably up there with Batman Begins and Lego Batman.
Mm-hmm.
How depressing is it that we've had, 9 Batman movies or something, and the best one is still Lego Batman?
I don't know, maybe it's because... Well, Lego Batman was also hilarious, and I think that helps a lot with it, too. I think I have a general preference for the Batman, but I will fully acknowledge that Lego Batman was pretty much hilarious the entire way through, so that definitely helps quite a bit.
I mean, I got a little bit of blinders on, but I feel like as a comprehensive adaptation of Batman, Lego Batman takes it. For a specific vibe of Batman, the Batman, one of the better ones. Possibly the top.
And if your specific vibe especially is, edgy, depressed Batman who has no idea what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah! No, I like that a lot. It's especially impressive because I was really skeptical of doing, still finding his feet, not fully embracing the mantle yet, Batman, because I'm tired of Batman Origins, which I know this isn't an origin, but it's close enough to an origin.
Right.
That I was like, can we just have the Bat family exist and he's already fighting Clayface and shit?
Mm-hmm.
Why does it all have to be just serial killers in pajamas? But no, that blew me away. So the idea that this has been pushed back is sad, but understandable. Apparently it's related to the strikes, which, that's fine, I could take that. And also Matt Reeves is, I think, still working on the Penguin show, because that also got delayed by the strikes.
Fair.
I don't know release date-wise, but certainly in terms of, being able to work on it.
Yeah.
But, no, so, October 2026 will be here before we know it. And you know what? It's probably good that it's not coming out in 2025, because that means it's not competing with the main DCU for attention. It gives that new universe some time to get situated with Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy and probably another movie. I don't know, We'll see. I'm inhaling some grade A copium right now, let me tell you. But it's working. It's working.
As long as it works, that's the important part, ... I think.
Right. In more DC news, apparently, Teen Titans live-action movie is being worked on.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's a little bit of a mixed bag for me, too, but go on. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I don't really know how I feel about that in a general sense, because... Obviously, I don't read the comics or anything like that, so I don't know what the Teen Titans are up to within the DC comics, if they're a thing in the comics to begin with. But, and I recognize also that this sounds ridiculous. I feel like what'll happen, because it's just kind of the trap that people will fall into, is that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the two most well-known things in regards to the Teen Titans are the original show and Teen Titans Go. I'm hoping that the movie doesn't really borrow from either of those and does its own thing, but I can also see a lot of people being like, this isn't Teen Titans, even though there's more to it than that.
I don't think that'll be that big of a problem, but I also think it's more likely than not that it'll take some elements. If nothing else, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes with that roster, maybe with some tweaks. Because the Teen Titans originally started off as just a bunch of sidekicks of some of the other superheroes who would team up.
Right.
Because it was originally, I want to say it was Robin, Speedy, and Kid Flash?
Who's Speedy?
Green Arrow's sidekick, and then he had a drug problem. But...
You can't, on one hand, no, you can't just, like, casually, like, toss that like it's nothing. On the other hand, it's like, God, there's so many characters that probably get that same treatment within the comics as a whole, aren't there?
No, they actually did a whole thing about it. It was kind of revolutionary. But
Oh, really?
I don't know if revolutionary is the right word, but it was certainly handled with more gravitas and attention and wasn't just suddenly dropped like you might expect.
Oh, fair.
I think those three were I know the first 5 was Robin, Speedy, Kid Flash, Wonder Girl, and Aqualad. But
okay,
Wonder Girl started a whole thing because originally when Wonder Girl was put in the comics, she was only it was Wonder Woman as a child, kind of like Superboy used to be for Superman. But
right.
I think the Teen Titans writers didn't know that, so they put Wonder Girl in thinking Wonder Woman had a sidekick, and that started this whole thing where Wonder Girl's origin, whichever Wonder Girl, just keeps constantly being rewritten, and it's like the Hawkman problem. It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
And it all just originates from this one fucking problem.
Okay.
Anyways, that was the original Teen Titans. It wasn't particularly popular, but then in the, I want to say, 80s, Marv Wolfman relaunched it as a new Teen Titans, and that roster was Nightwing, Cyborg, Beast Boy, but I think he went by Changeling at the time, Raven, Starfire, Wonder Girl, Donna Troy Wonder Girl. I think she might have been, she wasn't going by Troya then, I don't think. I think it was Wonder Girl, and also Kid Flash. So basically, the animated show, but with Wonder Girl and Kid Flash, who I think they couldn't use in the animated show for rights reasons.
Okay.
There was a weird thing with the Wonder Woman characters at the time where I think Wonder Woman and her supporting cast couldn't be featured in projects where they weren't the main character. It was stupid and weird like most corporate things at that time, and still are.
It's like, it sounds stupid and weird.
No, I like the idea of a Teen Titans movie. I especially like the idea, and it makes sense because we already know Brave and the Bold is already jumping to Damian Wayne Robin, so that means that theoretically Dick Grayson was already Robin and now he's probably Nightwing, so that's a good way to also flesh out that corner of the universe without taking up too much Batman time.
Okay. I was kind of trying to, like, because as I do sometimes on this show, I was trying to do a quick lookup of some characters I definitely don't know a lot about. In that, I was looking up a little bit about Wonder Girl, and there's a page on the DC database called Wonder Girl is Confusing.
Yep.
And there is a very funny picture that goes with it. And
love it.
I will send it to you. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Or I'll send it to you directly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually going to pull it up, but...
Oh, I've seen this.
Oh, you have seen this, okay.
Yeah, that's probably a Mixie's Pitlick 5th Dimension imp or something.
Okay.
It's probably not Mixie, but it's probably someone like him.
Okay,
like a Batmite or something.
I just especially like the face on the Wonder Girl wearing black, where she's just like she looks like she's scared shitless. It's like, I really don't want to be here.
No, definitely not. So, honestly, this is going to sound really stupid, but my main problem with a Teen Titans movie is that I feel like that's a stupid thing to call a movie franchise and expect it to have any longevity.
Oh, is it actually called the Teen Titans movie, or...?
Well, all we know is it's a Teen Titans project in the works. Now, the Teen Titans have it a little bit easier because once the cast got older in-universe, they started calling that team specifically just the Titans.
Yeah.
So you can easily drop Teen out of it. It's the same problem I have with Young Avengers, because, there's all these leaks and rumors going around and going, oh, they're working on a Young Avengers project, and I'm like, Young Avengers is the stupidest thing you could fucking call these movies. Because at best, especially at the rate that you're cranking out movies now, you're gonna get one movie before they're all in their 30s.
Yeah.
So the Young Avengers is the stupidest fucking thing you can call it, because it's inherently limited. You can't build a long-standing brand out of it in live action. Hell, even New Avengers has a similar problem.
Yeah.
You get, maybe 3 movies out of it, but after a while they stop being new.
Yeah, they're just the Avengers again.
Maybe go with the Mighty Avengers. Champions. Champions would be a good one. That'll never get old.
Right.
But Teen Titans is in a similar spot for me, where I get it, it's recognizable, but it doesn't work as well in live action. And we've seen it play out, because that's what happened with Shazam.
Yeah.
Because the whole conceit of Shazam is he's a kid who turns into an adult. Well, unfortunately, when filming gets delayed,
the kid becomes an adult.
The kid's an adult.
Yeah. So you just have an adult playing an adult who's not the kid's sister.
It's one of those things where, oh yeah, in hindsight, that is really obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyways, but I am excited for this. I'm a little concerned that we're about to get into the same problems that plagued the original DCEU, where projects were getting announced by the trades left and right, like, oh, we've got so-and-so working on this, oh, so-and-so is working on that, and it created that idea that they had no idea what they were doing, because they didn't. And I mean, it's not entirely 100% fair, because the thing is, a lot of studios work on all kinds of things that never get made just because they want to see how much there is to work with in the concept. Even Marvel's talking about how now they're pivoting to that, and they're trying to make it sound like a big innovative thing when it's nothing new. It's just how business works.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we'll see how this goes. All we know right now is that Anna Nogueira? I'm so sorry, I'm really bad at pronunciation.
Yeah, I can't help you there.
Is going to be writing the screenplay. She's also currently working on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Okay.
But that's all we know. And now, I'm going to pivot to... So, I was really looking forward to Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2.
Wait, there's something that killed your hype? Really?
A little bit.
Really? Okay, lay it on me.
Because the studio behind it, along with Jagged Edge Productions, have announced that they're working on the Twisted Childhood universe.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, so obviously there's Blood and Honey and Blood and Honey 2.
Yes.
They're also making Bambi the Reckoning, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and Pinocchio Unstrung, all of which are going to...
Pinocchio Unstrung?
Unstrung.
Oh, Unstrung.
Yeah, like I got no strings.
Oh, you bastards. Oh, I see what you're doing with that title.
No, that's not the bad part, though. The bad part is that this is supposed to culminate in a movie releasing in 2025.
Really?
Called Pooniverse Monsters Assemble.
Alright, I'm gonna be level with you. Of all of those, the one I am the most interested in is actually the Bambi movie. I am genuinely curious to see how they make Bambi cursed.
No, okay, so the thing is, I don't have a problem with any of those individual projects.
Yes.
I have a problem with them building up to they're specifically citing it as an Avengers-style team-up, and it's coming out next year.
Yeah, that's a lot of movies to drop in a very... I mean, these are all low-budget movies, so it's probably, a lot easier, but still.
Yeah, but...
You're kind of creating too much of a good thing there.
I know there's a limited shelf life on this whole thing, but boy, nothing kills it for me like knowing you're rushing into this whole thing.
Watch this end up becoming, even though there was a lot more, at least as far as I'm aware from the outside looking in, love, care, quality, and thought put into it. Watch this end up becoming another Five Nights at Freddy's type of deal, as far as how big it blows up.
Yeah.
That would be something.
One of the producers of Jagged Edge Productions, Scott Chambers, said, similar to the Avengers, we'll follow Pooh, Tigger, Rabbit, Owl, Piglet, Pinocchio, Sleeping Beauty, Bambi, the Mad Hatter,
Sleeping Beauty, you say.
Peter Pan, and Tinkerbell joining forces to wreak havoc. We're working with a larger scale budget on this one and are excited for what the future will hold.
Okay, I changed my mind. Bambi is no longer my most interested. Now I'm curious about Sleeping Beauty just fucking shit up.
Well, they didn't even announce one for her, so I'd assume that maybe they're just gonna shove her into Pooniverse, which, just saying that
that is a cursed sentence.
I renounce my wish.
That is a very cursed sentence indeed.
I take it back. I don't want any more of these anymore. It's just that bit from Adventure Time of, I don't like koalas anymore.
Again, instead of a koala, it's just a picture of Blood and Honey Winnie the Pooh with like a little bit of, I don't know, rabbit frothing at the mouth or something like that. Like, there's rabbit frothing at the mouth, but there's also like dollar signs in his eyes at the same time.
I mean, I'm sure I'll still see these as I get the chance, but goddamn, knowing that you're trying to get all this out in the span of a couple of years is
not great.
No. And especially not building it up to a big crossover thing. That's just dumb. Oh well.
Yeah, indeed.
Let's go to trailer time.
Alright, trailer time indeed.
It's trailer time again! We've got movie previews to watch! It's trailer time again! Got a few trailers this week. We got a first trailer for the Crow reboot. Or is it a remake?
AKA, now that's what I call Edgy the movie.
It really is.
But it's quality edge at the same time. I don't like that I kind of want to see this.
I'm very surprised how much I dig the aesthetic.
Yeah, that's the main reason for me too. It's like, between the aesthetic and also just the general tomfoolery that's going on, my brain's going, I genuinely do not like that I'm as interested in this movie as I am, but this looks like a very weird, strange, edgy, emo good time.
In case this is your first episode, thanks for hanging in there this long, but we haven't seen The Crow, the original.
No, we have not.
I understand it's a cult classic, and I understand there's been some discourse about bringing it back and about the design choices for the main character. I have no investment in that. I'm hoping at some point to fix that and watch the original Crow, because after reading the concept, boy howdy, I am in love with this idea at least.
Okay.
But I having no investment in previous The Crow movies, I am surprisingly on board with this one, because it doesn't necessarily look great, but it certainly looks like it's got a vision.
Fair.
And I'm interested to see how that plays out and where it ultimately goes. And there's something morbidly fun about a protagonist where he'll die, but he won't stay dead.
Yeah. That was kind of the interesting thing for me, is that in the moments where, at least in the trailer, in the moments where our character dies, he does actually die, but he just gets sent right back. And so it's like, alright, from a creative standpoint, I can see how if that kind of element is used very well enough, that can create some kind of fun tension in certain moments of the movie. My brain also couldn't help but go, like, whoever the person he was talking to in hell who goes, it's not your time to go just yet, every time he dies, she's just like, okay, bro, what the hell? How do you keep on ending up back here?
And also, there's something a little not funnily morbid about the idea of the protagonist who dies over and over again, considering that, as covered, was that last week? I don't remember. Whenever the first look came out.
Right.
That the actor who played the Crow in the original movie, Brandon Lee, was killed on set in a firearm accident.
I feel like that talk was either last week or the week before.
If
I remember correctly.
Yeah, so, anyways, the thing is, I can see where... Sorry, we had some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Anyways, from that perspective, I can see where this movie might hit someone the wrong way, but I also think there's a broader argument to be made there that I'm not really willing or able to get into extended debate about should something terrible that happens in... Basically.
Yeah.
Should a terrible incident associated with one particular installment of something prevent that from ever being done again? And I feel like I come down on, no, it shouldn't, but that's just in general.
Understandable.
So I'm not super looking forward to this, but I am curious.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have the time, I'll be happy to check this out.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm going to see this at some point.
Exactly. It's like, okay, at some point.
Yeah.
It really depends on what comes out that weekend, but eventually.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely one of those things where if there's not anything, like, super amazing coming out, then this wins, like, pretty easily. Yeah.
Then we also got another trailer for the first Omen, which is, I think, leagues better than the first.
You know what's funny about that is that I know we talked about the previous trailer, like, beforehand. I don't remember if they did the same thing, but at the bit where their, like, trailer starts in 666, I audibly said, "Oh, fuck off."
It tripped me up with that. I did a double take.
Yeah, I was just like, I was literally like, "Shut the fuck up, movie."
Then I was, yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Can't believe I fell for that.
Oh, fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
No, it's at least good to have a better idea what the movie's about. I mean, we already knew it was going to be a prequel to The Omen, but...
Right, yeah.
To have a better grasp of in what sense it's a prequel is definitely better than just, hey, let's play a bunch of stuff in reverse because that's ominous.
Yeah. I mean, I to my recollection at least, I have not seen the original Omen movie, so anything in that aspect is a little lost on me, unfortunately.
I think I've seen bits and pieces, but I don't think I ever watched it all the way through. I think I might have caught it while someone else in my vicinity was watching it on several different occasions.
Okay.
And from there I have an idea of how the movie goes, but I've never actually seen the whole thing.
Right.
So I assume this is where Damien, the kid from The Omen, who's actually the Antichrist or something, this is about his conception, I'd assume.
Oh, okay.
But it's also interesting to see that there's apparently a conspiracy afoot revolving around that, where it seems like it's actually the church who's behind it.
Huh. Yeah, I was gonna say, that was kind of the part where I was just like, oh, okay, the church is responsible for this. That's an interesting twist. That's usually not how this goes, but hey.
It's just that bit from Hellsing Ultimate Abridged of, "We're here to save you! Oh, hooray, it's the Catholic Church!
From yourselves!
Oh no, it's the Catholic Church.
And then the one character just does, like, the Catholic cross on the...
Yep. It's just that.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is definitely a movie where I will watch it because it's a horror movie, but I'm not really looking forward to it.
As I say, by default, you have more interest in actually going to the theater to see this movie than I do.
Oh shoot, that's April 5th, huh?
Is there something else? Oh wait, that's, like, what, 3 weeks from now?
Yeah, that's not far off.
Okay, well, damn.
Let me see what's here. Oh, Monkey Man's out. Easy.
Oh yeah, no, that is not hard.
Easy.
Easy. Yep. Like, yeah, I'm definitely a lot more interested in Indy and John Wick. Thank you very much.
Yep, 100%. Nope, sorry. Sorry, Damien. I don't care. And then we also got a trailer for, I think, Chris Pine's directorial debut, Poolman.
There's something that feels, like, oddly, self-indulgent about this trailer.
Is it the fact that he's typing a letter that goes, "Dear moviegoer, thank you for watching this trailer"?
Yeah, I just, like, when that started, I'm just like, what the hell's happening right now?
But apparently that's in-universe.
Yeah, it's just like...
So I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, that was strange. I mean, it looks fun. It looks like a fun movie.
Yeah, 100%. I do like me a good, outlandish, wacky conspiracy starring a hapless boob.
Yeah, this was... Oh, God. This seems like a... Shit, what's the movie... I know this movie came out, like, years ago, but what was the movie that we saw in theaters where it's like Russell Crowe...
The Nice Guys.
The Nice Guys. Yeah, it's like... It seems like a stoner movie by way of The Nice Guys, almost.
The best part is, I had The Nice Guys on deck as soon as you started, and I was like, no, let me just wait for some context, because Russell Crowe, oh, yep, there it is. I have that movie on disc, and I haven't seen it since we saw it in theaters, which is a crime.
Oh, boy. Yeah, no.
I really have to fix that.
Yeah, no, because it's a great time.
But I mean, there's also a good cast in this one, because obviously Chris Pine is good, Annette Bening is good, Danny DeVito, DeWanda Wise.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Clancy Brown is in this.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
The Wikipedia cast list doesn't say as who, but that's neither here nor there.
Right as well.
Either way, this one, I'd say out of all three of them, this is probably the one that I'm most looking forward to, that we've covered on Trailer Time this week.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I guess I should do the honorable mention. We did get a new trailer for Godzilla X Kong, but that's out, weekend after next, so who cares?
Yeah, pretty much.
Plus, it seemed like it was mostly just reframing stuff we've already seen, so...
Right.
Yeah. That was honorable mentions. Let's go to box office!
Let's do the box office.
We did see the highest grossing movie this weekend, last weekend.
Oh, okay.
Because it's still Kung Fu Panda 4.
Alrighty.
$30.1 million domestic weekend, and then a $107.9 million domestic total, and $177.2 million worldwide, against an $85 million budget, so going by conventional double the budget to account for marketing, it's turning a little bit of a profit.
And I'm sure it probably won't be a massive profit, but I'm sure at this rate it'll still make a profit regardless.
At the very least, it's not a huge failure.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair. It doesn't deserve to flop.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was making bank and turning gangbusters levels of money, I'd be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Now, the movie we did see this weekend, One Life, took 8th place domestically at the box office this weekend. $1.7 million domestically this weekend and in total. But it did release, I think, in the UK last year, so it's sitting at $32.68 roughly million worldwide.
Okay.
No budget information as far as I can see, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie. I don't know exactly how it works, obviously, but considering it's a movie bankrolled by the BBC, I have a feeling that budget and any losses in that don't have as major an effect on them as it does like a major studio.
I'd be inclined to believe that.
Yeah.
Again, having no idea how it works. I don't have any idea how it works in the US, really. Most of what I know is based on conventional wisdom and Google research.
Fair. Yeah, same here.
But, so we did see One Life.
Yes, on this week's episode of our comedy-oriented podcast, we bring you The Entryway to the Holocaust.
You know what? Note to self, put this at the start of the review. This next section's kind of a fucking downer, so if you feel like ducking away for the rest of the episode, no hard feelings, just drop a like if you don't mind.
Yeah, just drop a like, subscribe, tell your friends, and make sure to tell them that the Holocaust is not a regular topic on this show.
Yeah, this is not... I mean, I feel like we've covered other stuff like this before. It's just not necessarily the most common thing, because there's usually something else out that weekend.
Yeah.
And actually there kind of was, because, and I didn't find this out until we already saw One Life and the rest of my weekend was full up, but the American Society of Magical Negroes did come out this weekend.
Which, I feel like I was better off. I haven't seen American Society of Magical Negroes, so I can't really speak to it too much, but something tells me I was better off in the long run seeing this movie.
I'll definitely say I'm glad I saw One Life.
Yeah, same here.
So for those who aren't already aware, this is a biographical... Is it a biographical... Would biographical drama be the right...
Yeah, biographical drama, I think, fits here.
Yeah, that's what Wikipedia says. I'm gonna roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
Biographical drama based on the life of Sir Nicholas Winton, who helped... What was it, 600 plus?
Yeah, 600 plus. Yeah, Nicholas Winton, who was a real person, because again, biographical drama. He was a British stockbroker who volunteered in Prague and helped rescue 600 plus children who were refugees in Czechoslovakia trying to escape the rising power wave of the Nazis. This was...
all primarily Jewish children.
Yeah.
Just to throw that out there. Apparently that was a point of controversy where the central premise, some of the advertising for the movie just said Central European children.
Oh, really?
And apparently that caused a bit of a dust-up. So, just to avoid falling in the same pitfall, because I'm sure somebody will come after us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone will come after... Some miserable motherfucker will come after us on our... I say this with the utmost love. Small-time, comedy-oriented movie podcast.
Even if it takes 5 years.
Yeah.
It'll be 5 years later, we'll have thousands of subs, and then finally somebody will put a note on this episode. So just to avoid that. Anyways.
Right. Well, I don't know. How do we want to start with this?
I feel like there's not really much point talking, like, breaking it down to a premise. I
No.
don't feel like there's really much point doing a spoiler section, because,
Yeah.
I mean, you saw, I took, like, no notes.
Yeah, you
this.
took, like, 2 lines of notes, and that was it.
I didn't even bring my notebook to recording with me, because I thought there's no point.
Yeah. One thing, you know what, I will say, one thing I have to give this movie credit for, because it is at least a little novel, the thing that gets the ball rolling on this movie and everything that we see and the story that gets told and all that, is Anthony Hopkins' wife bitching about him about there being too much stuff in the house.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? That's actually kind of different. That's a really neat way of getting the ball rolling, because, for reference, the way this movie begins is that we see an older Nicholas Winton, played by Anthony Hopkins, living in London, or out in the outskirts of London, I want to say, in the 1980s. He and his wife are preparing for the arrival of their daughter and her family. Her daughter's very pregnant by this time. And it's a thing of Nicholas Winton has, over the years, collected a lot of things. We're introduced to his very nice house having just, like, mountains of papers and boxes and documents and all other kinds of nonsense, like, in, like, the spare bedroom, in their study, and in another storage area in the house. And the wife, Greta Winton, played by Lena Olin, that looks a lot more correct. She's like, hey, you need to, like, get rid of this stuff. There's so much crap here. You need to get rid of this stuff so there's enough room for our very pregnant daughter to move around and all that, including a very old briefcase that Nikki Winton has held onto for years, at which point the wife looks at it and says, you should honestly probably donate that to a museum. Which might sound like a kind of a callous comment, but actually does a great job in jump-starting the events of the movie.
Right, because a lot of it's basically him reminiscing about
the work
what that meant, what he did, how ultimately he still regrets that he wasn't able to do more, and how he feels like donating something to a museum won't do it, because all it's going to do is just sit there, and there's still similar crises going on, which means there's got to be a better way of drawing attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't think we've really said as such. I like this a lot.
Oh yeah, no, this is a good movie.
This is one of those ones where there's not a lot of... I mean, honestly, I'm not really super equipped to talk about filmmaking techniques or shots or anything like that anyway, beyond, oh, that was a neat shot, that was a cool effect. Obviously, there's not really much of that here, but it's interesting what you can do with just... And I don't know how much I want to attribute to the script, because I don't know how much of it is real versus actually scripted, but it's amazing what you could do with a good script, knowing how to keep things going, and really good actors.
Yeah. Everyone does a great job with their roles in this movie. Of course, like, the standout being Anthony Hopkins, because, well, it's Anthony freaking Hopkins. What else would you expect?
And also Johnny Flynn, who has the unenviable task of pretending he could grow up to be Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. Although he does a great job.
No, yeah.
He's great in this. It's
an unenviable task, but he performs it elegantly.
Yeah, he does a great job in this. He's, honestly, the way this man uses his face and all that, and his facial expressions, is an oddly commanding way of acting. The way he uses his face when he acts is genuinely very good.
Definitely.
What's unfortunate about this is that there are also a lot of other actors who also do really great things, but I don't really know a lot of these people.
Same.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't have any frame of reference because I don't know many of these people. I don't know if it's one of those things where, like, they're not very well known in America, but are kind of celebrities in their own right within, like, Britain and Europe as a whole.
Or it might just be we don't watch enough of these movies, because biographical dramas generally aren't the first thing I gravitate towards. So.
Yeah, no, this movie is definitely much more of, like, my thing. This is definitely a movie up my personal alley than anything else.
And one thing I'll commend the movie for, this is more an indictment of myself, I guess, but, you know, when I'm watching a movie, because I do this often, I'll check my phone a few times, not to, like, see what's on a social media post or anything, but just to get an idea of what time it is, just so I can gauge how much time is left. I didn't pull my phone out once in this one.
It's interesting. This movie isn't, like, I don't want to say in your face, about it. The movie does a phenomenal job of engrossing you and keeping you interested without thinking about how long it does it. I know other movies have done it as well, but the movie that comes to mind that did it to me and that made me feel that way in a similar fashion was The Batman, but...
Oh, I can't say the same for that.
Or at the very least, I know this isn't a particularly long movie, but The Batman was the one that maybe goes like, this movie made great use of its time, and this one did too. But it's like, I feel like it does it in very different ways. This movie is definitely a lot more subtle, but it does wonderful as subtle about a movie chronicling the rescuing of Jewish children from Nazi Germany can be, but it definitely does a lot less to keep me engaged, but still keeps me heavily engaged without thinking too much about what's going on. Because it's like...
the humanity of it is enough, or lack thereof in some cases.
Yeah, no. Just, you are engrossed by the stakes that are being shown. The stakes are very high in the game that these characters are playing, and it's just kind of a thing of, what can they do? How is it going to go? All that fun stuff.
And part of it, I think, is the pacing and editing in the sense of they're really good about switching back and forth between the present, relatively speaking, and the past, enough that it leaves you not disappointed that you're not in the other point, but wondering when you're going to get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as it steadily builds to... like I said, I don't really think there's a point having a spoiler section, but as it builds to the reveal of what happened to the last train.
Yeah.
Which was horrifying.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
Because for reference, they had, 8 trains that successfully got out?
Yeah, and there was 9 that... So to kind of give... Also, I guess before jumping into that a little bit, to give a little bit more historical context for this, because I feel like that's at least a little important. At the point that this movie is taking place, World War II has not officially broken out yet. The movie starts basically a few weeks after the Munich Agreement was signed. And for the uninitiated, the Munich Agreement was the agreement signed between Nazi Germany, France, the UK, and Fascist Italy that allowed Germany to annex Czechoslovakia. I like
how Czechoslovakia is not part of that agreement.
No, yeah, it's really fucked up.
Is there someone you forgot to ask?
Yeah, no, it's a horrifically fucked up thing, honestly.
But I'm only joking because it's a massively uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, the reasoning for that was... It's really hard to overstate how much at this point Europe as a whole, with the exception of Hitler, of course, Europe didn't want another giant war. World War II started just over 20 years after the First World War. Some portions of Europe were still kind of in the midst of recovering from World War I and kind of retooling their forces and all that. France, and especially Britain, did not want another, international conflict to break out. And as such, they were trying to do everything that they reasonably could, and even though I don't really agree with the premise of the Munich Agreement, but that's another thing entirely.
If you give a mouse a cookie and all that, except it's if you give a Nazi Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially since it's made more gross by the fact that Czechoslovakia did actually have a military treaty with France.
Ugh.
But yeah, the whole point of the Munich Agreement was to give Hitler what was referred to as the Sudetenland? I might be mispronouncing that. I unfortunately don't have a German sitting next to me right now. But the Sudetenland was a large portion of Czechoslovakia where 3 million ethnic Germans, or mostly ethnic German heritage lived, and Hitler, being fucking Hitler and the whole, superior race thing going on, was like, no, we need this land back so that ethnic Germans can have their living space again. And we can push all the undesirables out. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Zyklon B, etc. So with that, people are evacuating Czechoslovakia and moving more east towards Prague, because Prague at this point is still within neutral territory. And with that, there's a lot of families, mostly children, mostly Jewish children, were just kind of camped out in different portions of Prague who have, no food, no shelter. It's literally the middle of winter 1938 in a portion of the world where it gets horrifically cold. So it's a thing of Nicky Whitten, alongside a bunch of other volunteers for the British Committee for Refugees from Czechoslovakia, are trying to find ways to save these kids from being rounded up by the Nazis, basically, including sending them off to other parts of Europe, mainly Britain, to be adopted temporarily by other families until the war ends. And for the most part, it works. They end up rescuing, as near as makes no difference, 700 children. For reference, it's believed that only 200 or so children that were in Czechoslovakia and Prague when the Nazis took over ended up surviving the war. Most of them were killed at, concentration camps and gas camps. So they rescue, 700 children, and they're sent to, families and all that, and there was supposed to be a ninth train that had, their biggest load. I think that train was supposed to have, if I remember correctly, 250 children or something like that, or it might have been more than that, actually. But,
no, 250 or so sounds right.
Yeah, but unfortunately that train was scheduled to launch on the 1st of September 1939, the day that Nazi Germany invaded Poland and kicked off World War II. And with that, Germany steamrolls its way into Prague, and the borders have been closed. And so the Nazis stop the train and round up all the children and their families. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to figure out what happens after that.
No.
So...
And the build-up to that, as somebody who didn't know most of the historical context beyond a vague idea of dates and what have you, and also, I knew about the Munich Agreement, just not necessarily what it was called, but...
Yeah.
I knew the conciliatory idea of let's just give them this space and hoping that does it. It's a really frustrating but effectively done look at how nations and bureaucracy allowed a travesty of this scale to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And how they also made it difficult to provide any kind of aid, which, in light of recent events, feels particularly telling.
Yeah, this is a bit of a... I don't want to call it on the nose, but there are definitely certain bullet points that can move from this movie to current events, even though the entirety of this movie takes place in two separate points in the past, one point being 1987, and the other point being 1938 to 1939.
Yeah.
There's definitely a couple parts where it's just between what's happening, people's responses, and also a lot of apathy given by various parties, where it's just yeah, this is a little real right now.
You know what? Note to self, put this at the start of the review. This next section's kind of a fucking downer, so if you feel like ducking away for the rest of the episode, no hard feelings, just drop a like if you don't mind.
Yeah, just drop a like, subscribe, tell your friends, and make sure to tell them the Holocaust is not a regular topic on this show.
Yeah, point them towards some of the other episodes. But also, remind them the Holocaust happened.
The Holocaust did happen.
We're really getting at a... This is the opposite of what I was trying to do. But...
Yeah, so kind of jumping back to the modern portion of it, because again, this movie jumps back and forth between Nicky Winton as a 20-something-year-old volunteer in Prague trying to rescue these kids. Against all odds, I do actually need to spend more time reading about this man, because it's amazing that he was able to do what he did on just pretty much hope alone.
Definitely.
The thing that's kind of referenced a lot in the movie is that without really thinking about it or putting any kind of plan together, he just goes, oh yeah, we can do that. When it comes to the $4 million plan to rescue these kids and all that, it's everyone's no, we need a shit ton of visas and a shit ton of money, and it's it'll happen. It's
I think, to
how?
be fair, the movie doesn't present it as him blindly saying this will happen. It's him saying we need to treat this as if it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We have to approach this from the perspective of there are numbers. We need to figure out what the numbers are, so that way we have an idea of what's logistically needed in order to get this in motion.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, obviously, there's a degree of a bit of a leap of faith and a degree of charging in a little more optimistically than one might expect. But I also respect coming at it from the perspective of we have to go at it this way because that is the only way we can get concrete proposals together of what we need.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's fair.
It's also an interesting look into how many wheels they had to grease to get this going, because there was a lot of roadblocks from institutions where it boiled down to having to point out that, ultimately speaking, everybody involved in this, everybody trapped in this horrible situation are still people, same as anyone else.
Yeah. Nicky Winton's mom is an absolute G. in that aspect.
I think one of the one notes I took was, young man, I'm going to tell you something. Sit back down.
Which she does to, like, a British official, no less.
Yeah.
Because she's, like, actually in what I can only assume to be Britain's equivalent of, like, Homeland, talking to a guy at a desk about trying to figure out what needs to happen to get these kids into the country. He's just like, thank you, man, that'll be all for today. He's like, young man, I need to tell you about a thing. I need you to sit down right now. And it's just like, woof.
No, and it goes into a really good, hard speech about the values that this nation espouses, and how it's more important in the face of this to ensure that those are being upheld.
Yeah.
Which, it's a really... I know it still happens today, but it's a really depressing thing to look back at this, because it feels like that was something that existed more back then.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of it's the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of, now, what is it, 80 years of being able to look back at all the horrible things that were going on.
Yeah, it'll be 80 years since the end of World War II, roughly this time next year.
And obviously it's real easy to go, yeah, the bad guys were Nazis, so of course there were bad guys in this one, but I feel like World War II, more than anything, is the conflict that gets most boiled down to, there were good guys and there were bad guys, and part of why the good guys won was because of rallying together around these human values that the bad guys lacked. And I know that's an oversimplification, and I know that there are obviously projects that take a unflinching look at some of the things that happen, and this is one of them.
Oh yeah.
Because... again, bureaucracy being the biggest roadblock to progress, and the complicity of nations in horrible acts for their own sense of security is a big point of this movie.
And is also a big talking point right now.
Yeah, and it's just tough that it feels like, yeah, we could say that happened back then.
Yeah.
And we don't know that it's happening now.
Yeah, and the movie also, like, even when it gets the ball rolling and getting these kids out, it doesn't, like, kind of, like, it still kind of rolls back around in understandable ways to the whole, the general apathy that some people and nations had for the sake of their own interests. One of the big ones being later in the movie when older Anthony Hopkins is presenting his scrapbook, as he calls it. It's the book that he has that has the pictures and names and documents of these kids, to the wife of a well-known British journalist. She intros with, I heard, like, you tried to contact the President of the United States, and basically saying, like, and nothing came of it. Which was an interesting thing for me, because at the time that this was happening, that's more than likely what happened. In 1938 and 1939, the U.S. was very aware of what was happening in Europe, but the U.S. was also very, very still strong in the whole neutrality aspect.
Yeah.
And within the general populace as well, I would say that the overall general consensus was general neutrality on what was going on in Europe. There was definitely a notable pro-Nazi movement here in certain parts of the U.S., and...
What do you mean, was?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
No, but you're right. But there was definitely a notable pro-Nazi movement in the U.S.
I think I'll just have that downer stamp in there in its original spot and earlier in.
And also, a lot of people, especially, the very mostly white population in the U.S., still kind of identify to a certain degree with the people of Europe. So, between that, and also, again, kind of coming back from World War I, the nation as a whole wasn't really like, at this time at least, yeah, we need to go over to Europe and help get this sorted out.
Wasn't our problem till they hit Hawaii, essentially.
Yeah! Oh god, that's a whole topic on its own. But yeah, so, like, the whole thing of, like, oh yeah, the president, like, just kind of not doing anything. It's like, yeah, no, that tracks, because that would have been the worst thing for them to do at that point. I mean, it would have been the correct move at that time, but from a political and social standpoint in the U.S., yeah, there's reasons for that. It just wasn't going to be popular to get involved at all at that point, which is a bit rough, to say the least.
No, this movie puts me in a weird spot where it's both a really touching reaffirmation of what people can do under duress and for the greater good.
Yeah.
But it's also a reminder of how much you have to do to get to that point, because society's not structured in a way where it's going to easily provide that help to people who need it. And also, how that crippling feeling that you're not doing enough can get to you.
Yeah. I mean, we see that in a couple spots, too. Both aspects of that. In the crippling sense, I forget exactly what caused it, but there was a moment where Nikki realized that something had gone awry, and that, I think it was the whole bit when they were one visa short for the train that they had already booked. And it was a thing where his mom was going, you have to understand that you can't rescue all of these kids.
Oh, no, that was when the girl with the baby went missing.
Oh, okay.
Lenka Weiss, I think her name was?
Yeah. So yeah, that was a thing of like, yeah, you can't rescue all of them, which is just the most soul-crushing thing imaginable.
That one hurt.
But also completely correct, given the context of the situation.
And I mean, not to bring this down to the level of a superhero movie, but it does genuinely make me think about Into the Spider-Verse, where one of the most amazing things about that movie is that one of the most devastating lines is delivered completely sincerely by Spider-Ham. Because...
That's right, yeah.
There's the bit where, when they're all talking about how they've all lost people close to them in the course of becoming Spider-Man or Spider-Woman or whatever, he just goes, Miles, the hardest part of the job is you can't always save everyone. And it's just...
Yeah.
That one gets me every time, partly because it's such a difficult line to accept and grapple with, coming from ostensibly the funniest character in an already pretty funny movie.
Yeah, but it's
and
also...
that's where my brain goes to when things like this pop up.
Yeah, because it's a thing of... It's a juxtaposition of it coming from the funniest character, while also it being a completely sincere and 100% factually correct line.
Right.
By the power of probability, you can't save them all. But then, even though the movie as a whole is... given what's going on, kind of a good bit depressing, it does have, objectively, a really great ending, with the whole thing of how years later he submits his scrapbook to the journalist's wife, and then the journalist's wife gives it to the production team at That's Life, which was, from what I gather, BBC's equivalent of, like, Saturday Night Live in the 1970s.
Maybe. I don't actually know what it is.
Yeah, it's I want to say it's like a comedy sketch show. Or, apparently Wikipedia describes it as a satirical consumer affairs program. Whatever the fuck that means.
So, kind of like the Colbert Show?
I guess.
Or Last Week Tonight.
Oh, you know what? Fair. But the scrapbook gets sent to the production company that handles That's Life. And it's a funny thing because it's introed with, he gets a call from the team at That's Life, and his wife hears about it, and he goes, and they go like, wait, it's going on That's Life? It's like, yeah, that's a silly show, isn't it? It is a silly show. But I guess they want to talk about it. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, that's a completely reasonable question to ask, given how ridiculous this show looks like it was. But they sit him down. He comes to the screening of the show. They sit him down in the front of the audience. And the presenter for That's Life, Esther Ratzin, played by Samantha Spiro, she's like going over the scrapbook and all that with the cameras overhead. And then she goes, it's like, actually, one of the people in here is, I forget the woman's name, unfortunately, and they are actually here in the studio. And it turns out that one of the children that Nikki rescued is actually sitting right next to him in the studio. And then they have a conversation about her life during and after the war, how, you know, I think, if I remember right, both of her parents were dead. Her mom died of disease, and her dad was killed in the gas chambers. I think, like, one of her siblings or cousins did survive, but that was pretty much it. And then it's a thing of, you know, kind of a bittersweet ending in that particular aspect, because it's like, I got to see one of the people I saved, but they lost so much. And then later, he's back for another screening of the show, and they show more of the scrapbook, and another person is shown to be sitting to next to him as well. And then, during the last part of that screening, the host just goes, alright, is there anyone here who owes her life to Nikki Winton? I would like you to stand up, please. And pretty much the entire studio audience, save for like 2 people, all stand up. And it's revealed that
the 2 people are Nikki and his wife.
Well, I think there was like one other person in the background as well.
Was there? Okay.
I think I saw a woman who stayed sitting down. But it turns out that pretty much the entire studio audience that night were all kids that Nikki saved, who apparently dubbed themselves at some point Nikki's children. And later on in the movie, after the end of it, it's revealed that some of the people who were in the studio audience for the filming of the movie were also some of the people who survived the war, thanks to the efforts of Nicky Winton and his fellow volunteers. And it ends with, like, you know, them having their Christmas party and several of the rescued children, now adults with their own families and whatnot, coming over to Nikki's house and having a grand time with each other. And it's a genuinely a very nice and very sweet ending. But it's still kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a very sweet ending after a moderately depressing movie.
After it puts you to the fucking ringer.
Yeah, so it's like, this is a good payoff, but it doesn't hit as hard because of that, I guess.
Yeah. Now, ultimately, this was really good. I know it technically came out in 2023, but I'm still counting it in my 2024 ranked list. Currently, it's number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think... Oh god, I feel like there's something else I've seen that's still my number 1 so far, but I would definitely say this is at minimum in my top 3 so far this year.
Look, my number 1 is still Lisa Frankenstein because I'm still me, but...
That's fair.
But I am, of course, fully capable of recognizing a tremendous film when I see one.
Right.
And this is one.
Oh, absolutely.
This, I definitely think is worth seeing. I definitely feel like it should be checked out. Not just because it's an emotional gut punch, but because it's a really great reminder of not just horrible atrocities that have happened in the past, but also what regular people can do in the face of it.
Yeah.
Even when it feels like there isn't anything else to be done.
Exactly.
Got anything else?
Not particularly, other than go see the movie.
Yep. Anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. Next week, it's Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, so...
Yay!
You don't have to listen to us talk about the Holocaust anymore. Oh man, I'm gonna need that break from this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's completely understandable.
That hurt. But regardless of that, thank you so much for listening, everybody. It's really appreciated. This has been Under the Bridge with Cody, aka the Scarlet Troll.
And with Greg, aka Greg.
And we'll catch you all next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye!